How's your fight week been? The start of your fight week, rather.
Oh, the weight cutting thing, I could do without that.
Sure.
Otherwise, yeah, it's going pretty good. I feel good. The weight's actually, I've kept it pretty manageable throughout fight camp, so I'm doing pretty well.
Okay, great. Well, we appreciate you being on the show, and we'll introduce you on right now. Right now, we're welcoming Dan Sokolowski on the Fight Report. Make sure to check out his upcoming fight at Cage Aggression 31. Make sure to check it out May 7th on pay-per-view. Also, you can get it on Fight TV. And if you're in the area, you can make sure to check it out in Iowa, Davenport, Iowa. That's where we'll be seeing the fights live as well. And he fights Tyus White at the upcoming Cage Aggression 31. He is the owner of United Martial Arts and defeated Peter Lowe at Chosen Few Fighting Championship by knockout last year, and his first fight in 11 years. And a former Marine as well. We thank you for being on the show.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
Yeah, talk about how the sport of MMA has changed since you first started till now, including, I was also going to mention, the lack of an athletic commission back when you were fighting.
Yes. So there was no athletic commission in Wisconsin at the time when I first started. I had my first fight like way back. I want to say it was 2005, 2006 area. There was no athletic commission, so the rules were a little bit different. They were a little bit more open, I guess you could say. They had like pride style rules where you could do soccer kicks and head stomps and all sorts of that crazy stuff on the ground. So it was pretty insane.
Definitely, yeah. And talk about, obviously returning, so many years later, you stopped fighting for a while.
Yes.
So most wouldn't entertain returning to fight after that much time off. Talk about what made you get to what made you get to make that decision.
So the entire time I took off, I was still training. I was consistently training, and I always had the itch to get back in there and fight again. I just never put together the time to actually put together a full fight camp and get in that kind of shape and get back in the cage. So I just took a whole bunch of time off, and then finally, a few years later, fast forward almost 11 years, and I found myself going through a divorce, which, it was part of life. It happened, and I still had the itch to get back in there and fight. So I decided now's the time. What have I got to lose anymore? I might as well go for it. The clock's ticking. I'm not getting any younger.
Definitely. And return to serious training, actually the training camps for the fight.
Yes.
What do you think your body did to react positively? Readapt to the discipline to compete again?
Yeah, so it turned out like 11 years being off and not putting myself through the rigorous training camps like that actually like preserved my body. So I came back in, started training again. I've been getting, I've been putting in some good hard rounds, but we training has definitely been modified and evolved since back when I first started.
Right.
So when I first started, it was like you were sparring way too often, and you're going hard and getting hit hard, and you're getting your bell rung and getting concussions and such, and a lot more injuries, I think, back then. But things have evolved, and over time, not putting myself through those training camps, I'm feeling pretty good. My body's feeling great, especially at the age that I'm at now. I have other friends that are like retiring from fighting now, and or like really slowing down. And I'm just getting back into it. I'm feeling pretty good. So I guess we'll see where it goes.
And also, what did you learn from your previous fights that helped you in your last one? Anything that you stood out? Did you go back and review any of those fights for your team?
A little bit, yeah. So I used to be like a wrestler who could also brawl, so like that was like my style when I first started. And then obviously, the game was even evolving back then. So you had to start getting, learning jujitsu and whatnot. So over the years, I just kind of picked all that up. I slowed down a lot as far as being patient and not trying to force anything. So that definitely helps a lot. And I try to be a little bit more aware of, like what's going on in the fight and kind of picking out the little things that I can kind of tweak as we go.
Definitely. And not just train, but how has recovering changed from the first time you started fighting and now?
Oh man. I would have to say that overall, little injuries are lasting a lot longer. But I guess overall it's going pretty well. Like, because I did preserve my body over that 11 years. I wasn't going hard all the time. I wasn't going through the hard fight camps.
Right.
So my recovery has gotten a lot better, stayed pretty consistent over the years. I almost feel like I'm recovering similar to I was when I was like 24, 25. So it's doing pretty good.
And now, how much longer do you feel like you can fight for?
I guess that's gonna be we'll see. I'd like to go a few more years. If I'm feeling this good right now, I think I can probably go another 2 or 3 years, realistically. But again, I don't want to push it. I don't want to get to the point where like I'm just getting beat up by all these young guys either. So, I'm kind of aware of that as well. I'm just going to kind of see where I'm at with the sport. And I think this fight's going to be a really good eye opener for me to just kind of see where I'm at as well. Cause Tyus White's no joke. So this will be a good one. Definitely.
And your first fight back, I know you won by knockout. How gratifying was that result for you, after all those years coming back and putting it together?
Oh man, it was great. It felt awesome. It was crazy because I felt like I was back at home once I got back in the cage again. It was like all the anxiety and everything that was that I was dealing with leading up to the fight and in the locker room. It completely changed when I got in there. And it was like the first couple strikes, I'm like, oh yeah, this is where I want to be. And then finishing a guy like that. I mean, he's good. He's a really good up and comer in that. So it felt really good to just kind of go out there and perform that well.
And during the beginning of what we're going through right now with the pandemic, all the events were canceled. Obviously after your first fight back, you're back in the cage. What did you do to stay active, and what kept you motivated? I know you are a gym owner as well, United Martial Arts, but how did you get through that time?
So everything pretty much got shut down for a while there. It hurt a lot of businesses and whatnot. However, for me, I was still doing my day job for the most part. I was still working, so that kept me busy. And then as far as the gyms go, there wasn't a whole lot going on, obviously, for a few months there until things started opening back up. Now, the areas that I have my gyms at in Wisconsin, so we have 2 locations. Both of them, they're in pretty good locations to where they're not huge, and we didn't have any like major outbreaks, at least not within the gym. So once things started opening back up after just a few months, we were able to get back in there and start training again. So it wasn't terrible. It wasn't nearly as bad as some of the gyms that got shut down for almost a year, or some of them are even still like going in with a lot of restrictions. So
definitely. And circling back to Tyus White, he's 2-0. He trains at Pura Vida BJJ, one of the top gyms in Wisconsin. He's a top prospect. What do you think of the matchup?
Oh man, I think this is a great matchup, actually. I think it's going to be a good test for both of us because he hasn't fought anybody quite as experienced as me. So it'll be cool to see where he's at as well as where I'm at, just because I'm coming back into this. And I mean, I had a pretty solid first fight back after an 11-year layoffs, and now I'm jumping back into this after another 1-year layoff. With another very tough fighter. I do believe that I am stepping up a little bit in competition. His record, it kind of shows for it. He was a pretty good wrestler in high school and whatnot. So I definitely have my hands full. We'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely a really good fight. Do you have any other teammates that are fighting on the same card, or anybody that you recognize that'll be on the card that you've known from back in the day?
We don't have any direct teammates that are on this card, but we do have one of the guys from Primal MKE who we've been having a pretty solid relationship with as far as training goes. And that's Funky Bird, Austin Lucian. So we're looking forward to that one as well. I think he's definitely a great up and comer as well, undefeated. Sure. I can't wait to see his fight. He's fighting the next night after me. So he's fighting Saturday. So I'll get to relax and watch that one, hopefully.
And then talk about, Cage Aggression, what they're doing during the pandemic. They're having fans at the venue, doing stuff on pay-per-view. Like, how do you feel about that promotion? Getting, excited to fight for them?
Oh man, Mike Goodwin is insane. This guy is putting together, first off, amazing shows. He's very neutral in matchmaking and putting the fights together. He just wants to see a good show. He wants to put on a good show for the fans, and he wants to do this for the fighters. So even if they weren't allowed fans, he was still falling back on the pay-per-view side of things, you know, and now we're at 30% capacity, I believe, for this show yet. So the majority of the revenue from the show is actually coming from pay-per-view buys and that. But he does a really good job. I'm super excited to be out there. We had one guy fight last month or end of March on Caged Aggression, and that it put a pretty good taste in my mouth. Like, this is a really cool, it's a cool venue. It's a cool show. The people take care of us. Everyone involved was awesome. And it was a lot of fun, and I just can't wait to, get in there myself and do it.
Definitely. Well, we're excited to see it. So what can we expect May 7th?
Oh man. All right. So we are going to expect hopefully the best of both of us, because I definitely want a good fight coming into this. Regardless of win or lose, I plan to get my hand raised, but we all know that doesn't always go according to plan. I do think it's going to be a great fight. It's going to be a tough fight. The kid's a stud. He's a good wrestler. He's got underrated striking. I'm super excited to get in there and just see how I do against this guy.
Definitely. It's going to be really good. Everybody check it out. It's going to be at Caged Aggression 31. Make sure to get your tickets if they haven't sold out yet, or make sure to watch it, cageaggression.tv. You can get the pay-per-view. And we appreciate you being on the Fightlete Report. Dan, before I let you go, I wanted to get your prediction for UFC 261.
Oh, geez.
The main event. 262, rather, the main event.
262. Who's main event on 262?
Chandler and Oliveira.
Yeah, that's okay. So I am a huge Chandler fan. I want Chandler to win. Oliveira's no pushover, though. His jiu-jitsu is something else. He's on another level as far as that goes. But I think Chandler's going to be too much for him. I really do. I think he's going to pour it on.
Definitely. We appreciate you being on the Fightlete Report. And then also, can you do a quick shout out for the show? And we'll let you go. And appreciate Deanna Nanez as well. Don't forget Deanna Nanez, for letting us have, hooking up the interview.
Yep. Deanna, thank you so much. This is awesome. Thanks for getting this set up, Sean, as well. Definitely looking forward to this. Caged Aggression 31 coming up this weekend.